Okay, we're going to do one more thing with the clay. Right in here, where your bolt lock is, right where you latch the bolt, you're going to take some clay, and we're going to dam this up. What you want to do is just work it until you get it nice and filled in. We're going to take our piece of fishing line again, and we're just going to come in here and just really mold it. I'm going to take this piece of line and we're going to come in right here and just carefully slice that piece of clay off. On the inside. This might be a spot for the X-Acto knife, but we might be able to get it. No, I think we're good. Take the X-Acto knife, let's go in here on the back side. Just take that little piece out. Don't want any bedding compound getting down in there. Just gonna fill that in a little better. There we go. And come in here real quick. See, we came in here, filled in that real nice, and filled it in real nice on the back side. Get that little piece off, and you're ready to rock. Okay, now we're going to take our bottom metal and we're going to take the magazine, I guess box you would call it, put that off to the side. We're going to drop it out, drop the follower out like this, flip it over. We're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers right here. We're going to grab this. You just want to grab it and just pull it up barely like that. And that'll slide out. This is going to make your life a lot easier. It's not going to fight you. You can just take this piece now and just put it right up there into the stock when you put your barreled action in with your release agent and your bedding compound. Alright, so now we are going to apply our release agent. Release agent is something you use and you put on any parts that you're going to have the bedding compound come in contact with that you don't want it to stick to. So that would be underside of the barrel, the action, the sides, all that. You don't want it to stick. You want it to mold to it, but you don't want it to stick to it. Because essentially bedding compound is just glue. So what we're going to do is I use red grease as a release agent. I saw another YouTuber do it and I tried it on another rifle and it came out really, really nice. So I use red grease. It's just personal preference. There's a lot of different release agents out there. You can actually make some that I've seen, but you don't need a whole lot. You just take a finger of it and you're just going to wipe it real good, nice and thick. You want to use it real thick. Make sure it doesn't stick. Last thing we need is a action sticking in a stock. Not good, not a fun time. Had it happen once on one of my first bedding jobs many moon ago. And we will just cover it real good. Make sure you cover the recoil lug real good, because the recoil lug is actually going to submerge in some of the bedding compound. Make sure you cover it good. And you want to make sure you wipe some of this on the barrel, the chamber area. So you're going to want to go pretty far up the barrel, because we are going to bed a little bit up the barrel. So I just, because it is going to flow, and you know, you don't want to have it stick into anything that you don't want it to stick to. So just come right on up and spread it out real good. So I'll come in here, get some more grease, and we'll just come across everything real good. Don't want it sticking here, so that'll make our life a little easier. And just coat it real good. You can never have too much release agent. I mean, maybe that's arguable, but in my opinion, more is better. You don't want it crazy thick, but you don't want it thin. You do not want your release agent to come up short. Rather have and not need than need and not have. That's a very old saying. You just want to come in here and just grease it up. You don't want it sticking to anything, so just come in here and coat it real good. Make sure it doesn't, and you can just use some alcohol or brake cleaner later. Go. We're ready to rock. Got it nice and coated real well. Nice and covered. That's all you need. And there you go. I'll probably, I'm going to take a little bit. I'm going to really wipe this barrel real good. Make sure it doesn't stick to it, because it is going to flow a little bit and ooze out and squeeze. So you want to make sure you cover it real good. I just use a glove to keep it off my hands, because that tacky red grease does not come off real easy. So there you go. There's your release agent. Now let's move on to mixing up the bedding compound and laying it in the stock. Okay, let's get to mixing up our compound now. So you're going to take your curing agent and your resin. You're going to take one of these little spoons, and you're just going to scoop out a good bit of that resin. I use a paper plate, makes it nice and easy. Now remember, a little bit goes a long way. Remember that. Because you are going to mix equal parts of this compound with your curing agent. So think of every little bit that you pull out, it's going to double. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. And you just want to make sure you get a good blob of that curing agent out. Pull out a little bit extra. You're always going to have a little bit left over, and that's good. We'll get to that when we get to the end here. But you just want to scrape it off. It's very sticky. Very sticky. Come in here, you'll take one of your sticks, and you're just going to mix it up. It's kind of like mixing up JB Weld, like I said earlier in the video. Some people use JB Weld as a bedding compound. I don't. I use ProBed 2000 from High Score. I just like it. I like the consistency and really like their products. Make a lot of good stuff. You want to mix it up real good. Make sure you mix this stuff up real good. You don't want to have it not mixed. So just get in there and make sure it turns a nice uniform gray color. Because you're going to mix black and white, it becomes a nice lighter gray. Actually throw these out. Take the cure agent, put the cap back on. Like I said earlier, make sure you use 2 spoons or 2 sticks to make sure you don't go and contaminate one or the other. Sorry about that. So you're going to come in here and just mix it up. You have a decent amount of time before it really starts to harden up. It's just thick and real sticky. That's okay, because it will settle, and it takes a little bit for it to cure all the way, but it is workable. It is workable for about, let's say, 20-25 minutes or so. So that is pretty generous. And there you go. You're all mixed up, and let's go ahead and start laying it in that stock. Okay, so you're going to take your bedding compound and scoop some up. We're going to start laying it in the stock. This is it. This is the moment of truth. So we're going to go ahead and put this all down in here in the recoil lug area. You want to fill this up. Yes, it is going to ooze out like I was saying, but make sure you just really jam it in there real good like this. Get all them air bubbles out and get it nice and uniform filled. Recoil lug area is very important. It's a very key structure area. So you want to lay this all in there real nice. Make sure you guys can see it. And we're going to lay this compound in here a good bit. It's going to ooze out. Might have to mix up a little more. Might be alright. Might be okay. What we're going to do is come in here. We're going to just fill it in real good. You do want to go heavy with it because it is going to ooze out, and that's what you want. But you just want to make sure you get down in that recoil lug and get all them air bubbles out and get this all up in here. You want to get it on the sides and all that. Make sure you just cover it real good, and I'm going to show you a quick trick that I saw another guy do. Give me 1 second. Get this spread in here. Couple pieces of 223 brass and stick them in there like that. There we go. Just like that. And you're going to take this compound and you're going to just flow it in there real good. just like that. Get in there, take the compound, get it nice and spread evenly. You want to make sure that you just hold that case in there like this and come across. You actually pull a little bit of that out. It is peanut butter consistency. It's very easy to work with. It's good stuff. I like it. It's really not too bad to work with. If you get a little bit down in that magazine well area, it's okay. We can clean that up later. And you just want to make sure you come in here and you fill in all your areas real good. Get a little bit right there. Go. Scoop that. Okay. Get in there nice and evenly. We'll come back here, put a little bit. Don't need a whole lot back here. This is just that little tang area. This is why it's important to have that tape, because it is going to ooze out a little bit. And it also lets you get in there a little better without having to worry. Just want to come across, smooth that out. And you just want to get all of that in there real good. Get all that compound in there real good. You don't have to go too heavy with it back here. You don't want to go crazy with it. Just a nice, good covering, because it is going to tighten up real well. Maybe put a little more up here. Got a little bit left on the plate. Put a little more in there. It does level out pretty easily on its own, so that's nice. And there you go. Get a little bit in there. It is going to ooze out a little bit, so just double check, make sure you got everything nice and covered. Get in here and spread it. And then what you want to do is, yes, you are going to sacrifice a couple pieces of brass. You just come in like that. That's not really what you want. Yeah, just keep that hole nice and clear. And just spin them. Makes a nice clean opening. Now you take your action. And this is it, folks, a moment of truth. Alright, we got our release agent on there real good. Take a little bit and spread it out up here. And here we go. Get our bottom metal here. Okay, we've got the action laid in there. We're going to take our bottom metal and we're just going to slide it right in there like so. We're going to take our front screw right here. Oh, wait a minute. 1 second. Got to be sure before you put the screws in that you put some release agent on them. So we're just going to take some grease and we're just going to cover them real good. That's good. That's all you really need, like that. Stick it. And it's nice because it also helps hold it up there while you're trying to get the bolt started. So we'll come in here. Maybe it actually has to come back a little bit. There it goes. Okay, we got it started. Okay, take our other screw. Put some grease on there on those screws. And come back here. And the grease will hold it up. And just put that screw in there. Now you want to tighten it down ever so slightly. You only want to tighten it down just until it stops. You'll feel it. You don't want to torque it, just until it stops. Just until they stop and go them evenly. You don't want to go ahead and torque them, but you want to just go until it just snugs up a little bit. So now that we have our bottom metal in with our screws, you can see it oozed out a little bit, and that's okay. We've got the same thing going on back here, and that's good. It's nice and uniform, so we're going to leave it sit, let it dry, and then we will come back and take her back apart, put the trigger back in, and see what we got. Okay, so now that we've laid the bedded action in with our bedding compound, you're going to give it a little bit of time to set up, and once these get kind of gummy, all this ooze out up here, you can take the X-Acto knife and you can just slowly trim them off. And we will get to that when this dries just a little bit more. Alright, I've given it a little bit more time to dry, and now we're going to trim up the outside. So you're going to bring your X-Acto knife in, and you're just going to come in real lightly right here, and just lightly trim. Don't go crazy so you don't scratch it up, but you can just take your blade and wipe it on a piece of cardboard. That's what I'm doing. And you should be able to just pick it up all one piece like that. Don't worry much about the tape. You really just want to worry about what you can pick up with the blade on the edge of the action. This just makes it a nice cleaner fit. You know, you don't want it looking like trash, so just come in and give it a quick little trim. Nothing crazy. Don't have to go crazy with it. Just a nice clean up trim. Just get that little edge there. Can't get it off the blade. So just come in real nice and carefully and just get all that out of there. Don't worry about anything that's really on the tape, because that's going to come off with the tape, obviously. But you just want to come in and just come right along this edge here and just go right on down the line. So I'm going to come in here and just cut this off, because you don't want it on the top there. I'm actually going to take a skewer and run it down the side of the action like that. And what's nice about these skewers is, like I was saying, there's hard to reach spots. You can take the point and just come right down through like this, and you don't scratch it up, you don't mess it up. And it gives you a nice, clean, razor's edge finish. Right here is okay, because it's real tight, so you can get away with it. But you don't want to really use a blade to really press in there to clean it, because a blade is going to scratch up the finish on your action and maybe cut your stock and scratch it. So you don't want to do that. Use something that's not going to mar it. But for your initial cut, you want to take the blade to get any of them bigger chunks, and then you'll just clean it up with the bamboo. That's what I do. And it works out pretty nicely. Just give it a nice quick edge. Come right on down, come across. Okay. And once you get that nice edge on there, you're good to go. You can let it finish setting up, and then once it's done setting up, we will go ahead and pop the action out of the stock, and we'll see what it looks like down underneath. Okay, so now that we have let it sit and dry and set up, you're going to get it apart. So you're going to take your action screws back out. And it should not be too bad to get apart, but it might be a little tight. You might have to smack it a little bit to get it out, but it should not be too bad to get it apart. Some come apart real easy, some don't. It's nothing that you did wrong, it's just how it decided to cure and set up, and how tightly it gripped your action, and how tightly it molded. So nothing you did wrong. If it's tight to get out, that's actually a good thing. It means it set up real good and it's very nice and tight to your action. So that's not a big deal if it is. Take the screws out, drop that bottom metal out, and I come in here. Yep, came right apart. There we go. Okay, and this is our bedding before we peel the tape. It came out pretty nice in my opinion. I think it came out good. So now that we have everything all apart and our bedding came out good, if you have any areas that, you know, maybe chipped or didn't, you know, form well, you would just go back in and put some more compound and put it back together, wait, add more release agent to your action again, clean the action, and then put release agent, put some more compound, and then do the process over. You don't need to chip all of it out, obviously. But for those of you that don't know that, all you got to do is just add a little bit and you're good. But I bedded the whole action, and I also bedded the recoil lug and about an inch forward for the chamber to give it a little structure there. I do that on all of mine. I just like to support the chamber a little bit. But let's go ahead and peel the tape. Go ahead and peel our tape. Should just come right off. You might have a couple little spots you have to use X-Acto or maybe your nail. Okay, this flayed up a little bit on top of the tape, but that'll come off. Yeah, comes right out. That's okay if it comes up there, because that was an open space. So all you gotta do is just come in and take the tape, and that's all you gotta do is just peel it off, and you're good to go. So I mean, you know, you guys know how to peel tape. You don't gotta watch me peel tape, but just an example. Okay, so now that we have the action out of our stock after we finish bedding, we're going to come in here and just remove all this clay. Actually, no, I can just press it down. Right. But just take an X-Acto and go right through it. And that'll help you get freed up. actually use something like this, like a little flosser that I'm using. I use these to push them out. The clay does get a little hard after it sits in there a while, so not to worry, it will come out just fine. And you can just peel it off here. Just be careful that you don't force it into new areas that you didn't put it, so you have less to clean up. But you should be able to just come in here and press it right back out, like that. Just like this. Just kind of got to scoop it out, but it's really not that bad. Come in here with your blade and just lift it out. So that's all you got to do. Just get all the clay out and clean it up. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be right back and we'll put the trigger in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and reassemble the trigger here. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay our action on the bench block, and you're going to take your bolt release mechanism and take this spring. It goes in like this. It is a little hard to get started. You're going to take the longer of the two pins, and you're going to put the tapered end down. Just gonna tap it in. Let's see if I can get this started. In the Wheeler kit, there is a driver kit as well. It comes with a set of drivers, so you can drop that in. Oh, and the spring fell out, so we'll have to do it again. It's hard to get the spring back in one-handed, and you know, all this, but if you press in, you can kind of get it seated in the hole a little bit, and then there you go. Come back, use the driver, let that go down as far as it will, and then flip it over. Actually, I pressed it in too far. Gotta get the triggers in. Duh. So what you want to do is you want to get this pin in there just far enough that you can get the trigger assembly back in. So just punch that back until it's flush, just like that. That's all you gotta do. And what I do is I actually put the bolt in, and I'll close it, just so that will help me get the other pin in. I'm using an 1/8 inch punch from the Wheeler kit to hold this together. So all you're gonna do is come in and press that down. It's gonna go right there, right against your bolt mechanism. Come back through. Nice and flush. So now all you gotta do is press this up. Take a little flathead screwdriver. Sometimes it'll pop like that, and there you go. There's your bolt mechanism. What you're gonna do is you're gonna come in here, take your bolt, alright, and drop in like that. Okay, bolt mechanism works. Everybody's happy. All right. Take your other pin, which would be the shorter of the two. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way so you can see. I'm just going to take the plastic end and goes right in. Okay. And then we'll take a 1/8 inch punch right here. And there you go. And your bolt latch mechanism, bolt release mechanism will be right here over top of it. So you just put it until it stops and you're good to go. Trigger works. Okay, now one more final thing before we go ahead and reassemble. We're going to take our bottom metal, we're going to take our follower, and it's going to go in just like this. You take this and it slides right on in. And now your bottom metal is reassembled, just slides back together. Now let's go ahead and reassemble the rifle. Okay, so now we're going to finish up the assembly of the rifle. So you're just going to take your barrel to action and you're going to just drop it back in your stock. Take your bottom metal. Actually, just drop these out. Drop your bottom metal out like this. Put your magazine box in. Just going to place the bottom metal up in there. Take your screws. It'll actually stay up in there while you get your screws. And your shorter screw goes up front. Just like that. The longer screw is going to go in the back here. We're going to bring it up just until it touches. Okay, now we have our two screws snugged up just until they stop, and we're going to come back in and we're going to use the Fix-It Sticks torque wrench, and we're going to come in here and we're going to torque the action screws. I'm going to torque these to 35. So you just come in here and bring it around until that line lines up at 35 inch-pounds. Do the front one first and then come back and do the rear. And get up in there. We want 35 inch-pounds, just like that. Okay, your stock is torqued, the rifle is bedded, and you are all done, start to finish. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you could, please subscribe and give a like. Thanks for watching.